look at these in a little bit more detail. Joining us to do this is Lettice Bromovsky, political commentator with Young Voices UK. Lettice, good morning.
Good morning, Rosie. How are you doing?
Before we look at the stories in the papers, can I just get your sort of initial gut reaction to what we've heard so far from the council elections that have been revealed?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think what we're seeing so far is it's largely what was predicted. And I think, obviously, as you were mentioning earlier, we still have many councils still to declare, 191, I believe, are still to declare their results. But really what we're seeing so far is that it is the worst result for the Conservatives right now. It was predicted that they would lose around 1,000 councillors in this, and it is sort of slowly going in that direction for them. This is the huge test for Rishi Sunak, and as you were sort of mentioning a moment ago, it's been a hugely important night because it's going to give us the first insight into where we are in politics that we haven't had for quite some time now. I mean, really, we've had huge changeover within the Conservative Party, new leaders. We've had scandals like Dominic Raab, which one of your audience members was writing in about just a moment ago. And so really what Rishi's going to need from this result is to get it within a range of respectability, which there may still be time for, so that it doesn't re-spark the sort of infighting within the Conservative Party. But the results that we're seeing at the moment are not looking particularly good.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it all develops across the day. As we said, many councils haven't even started voting yet. So we've just got a small snapshot. And in years gone by, what the picture looks like at 5 o'clock in the morning can be very different come 5 p.m.
Yes.
Front page of the Mirror have got Shell's profits, £7.6 billion worth of profit in 3 months. The paper says it's obscene.
Well, it is. It's absolutely eye-watering. A figure of that when so many people within this country are going through a sort of cost of living crisis. They're struggling with their energy bills. The Mirror has very kindly worked out for everyone that that's actually £986 every second within those first 3 months, which is an unbelievable figure. And so many people have been struggling this winter to pay their energy bills. And it kind of harks back to the scandal that happened last year where Shell's UK energy division was force-fitting more than 4,000 of these prepayment meters into UK homes. Many of these people were much older. Many of them were sort of the poorest people paying these absolutely premium rates. And it went back to that awful debate around, to heat or to eat at the time. And to see these oil and gas giants making such astronomical figures, it's going to be hard for many people to swallow. And it's going to put a lot more pressure on the government around renewing their windfall tax.
It raises that question again, inevitably. And we sort of anticipated, well, this time yesterday on the programme, we were talking that we're saying Shell were going to report some extremely high profits. But yeah, that falls at the government's feet now to decide what to do with that. Front page of The Guardian has this story about AI, saying the UK and the US intervened in the sort of the race to develop ever more powerful artificial intelligence tech yesterday. To what extent do you think we've actually got a handle on quite how quickly this tech is moving forward?
Well, in so many ways, AI has been around for a while, but really since ChatGPT came out quite recently, relatively recently, in this boom that we've had, it seems to have grown exponentially, and the dangers around misinformation are growing with it. And so really the main concern for the British competition watchdog, who's launched a review into this sector and into AI, is looking at the spread of misinformation and looking at a significant rise in fraud. There was a woman who went on Good Morning Britain a few weeks back, and she was a mother, and she was talking about an instance where her daughter, or who she believed was her daughter, had called her phone and asked her for money and said she was in trouble. But ultimately, it wasn't her daughter. It was an AI-generated person. And, she had lost money because of that. That level of AI is sort of terrifying, that you don't even recognize your own family nowadays. It happened again recently with a fake AI-generated vocals from Drake and The Weeknd that had to be pulled off of streaming services. So it is growing much faster, and it's growing, and this coding and this data is all behind private companies and all held within private companies. So there is a lot of concern about misuse.
And not only that, on the front page of the Times this morning, there's a hint about, look, this is AI as technology. We really don't understand the scope of it now, but maybe let's look at something we all now take for granted, our mobile phone, the impact we're starting to see of what it does to you if you keep it right by your face for extended periods of time. And what they've seen in a study that took over 12 years, high blood pressure's been linked to having, if you have to spend more than 30 minutes a week talking on your mobile phone, holding it up to your face, you're going to have a higher rate of blood pressure.
Yeah, I think that's sort of terrifying statistic. I mean, everyone surely has more than 30 minutes a week spent on their phone. It does say that this has to be your mobile phone held to your ear and not through, your headphones or a hands-free set. But still, of the 212,000 British adults who were surveyed, an average age of 54, it was bringing back this data, which I think is particularly concerning, considering it was full over a 12-year period. And this high blood pressure is something that no one really wants. So maybe using your headphones is the future.
Yeah, very clearly they said the study cannot prove cause and effect, but researchers suggested that exposure to the low levels of radio frequency energy emitted by mobile phones may raise blood pressure. So something to think about, maybe getting a headset instead. Front page of the Daily Mail, the Coronation guest list has proved controversial for many reasons so far. A little later on the programme, we're going to be hearing from someone who has a seat at Westminster Abbey. But how politically problematic is it, do you think, that Beijing, China's vice president, will be there in attendance?
Yes, as you were mentioning earlier, he's there in attendance because President Xi could not attend himself. And obviously this has a lot of people up in arms. I don't see it as controversial as perhaps some people are, mainly because the king, he he sort of reigns over us, but he does not rule. This isn't meant to be a political event. This is meant to be much more an event for the UK, a celebration of him coming. And we already know that King Charles has put out and has been incredibly inclusive around this event, whether that's through ethnic minorities being in attendance, through all religions being in attendance. I think one perfect example of this is the chief rabbi, who could not travel in a car on Saturday due to Jewish laws, was invited by the king to Clarence House to stay there the night before, so that he wouldn't have to, so that he could go and he could walk. So the king is trying to make this as inclusive as possible. Obviously, it's not particularly ideal that the chief sort of politician who oversaw the brutal crackdown in Hong Kong will be in attendance. But I don't think that we could have extended that invite and then retracted it once President Xi decided who he wanted to send. So, of course, there is a political underlay going on here, but ultimately this is just about the celebration. And if he's going to be in attendance there, I think it should be seen as an inclusive thing and not as a political power play.
Lettice, thank you very much for your time and your analysis of the stories in the papers this morning. Can I just ask, how are you going to be celebrating tomorrow, if at all?
Well, it's so funny you ask, actually, because I'm going down this evening to camp on the Mall, all in the name of journalism, of course, but I will be there front row today and tomorrow, hopefully.
You are a mega fan. Are you taking a tent?
I will be having to camp, yes.
Oh my gosh. Do you know where your spot's going to be?
No, not at all, not at all. I'm going to have to go in search of a tent in London today to try and find one. But,
and what time are you going to leave to do that? Because quite a few tents have already been pitched.
Yeah, I know. Hopefully it'll all work out okay, but I'm going to have to go after work. So really I'll be going down at sort of 4 or 5 p.m. But hopefully there'll still be a bit of space for me there.
So why do you think it's better to wake up there rather than get there first thing in the morning?
Well, I have to be there actually because I'm going to be doing some reporting for a newspaper that I work for. So I'm hoping to get some on-the-ground content.
Okay, that sounds great. Well, I may very well see you tomorrow, and I'm going to go down outside Buckingham Palace a little later on this morning to speak to people exactly like you who've crazily decided to camp. Well, Lettice, thank you very much. Lettice Bromovsky, political commentator with Young Voices UK.